There was a time when I wanted to give up.
Why
Every
can't I
day, I woke up
focus?
with good intentions to study English, to improve myself, to finally change my life. But by the end of the day, I always failed. I told myself I was too tired, too busy, too distracted. And soon, I started to believe that maybe I was not the kind of person who could stay disciplined. I remember one night, sitting at my desk with an open notebook and an empty mind. I looked at the blank page and thought, what's wrong with me? It wasn't that I didn't want success. I did, more than anything. But I always quit before I even started. I wanted to speak English fluently, to think faster, to have the confidence I saw in
Why
others.
can't I
But every time I
focus?
looked at how far I still had to go, I froze. The goal looked too big. The mountain looked too high. And my brain whispered, why even
You've
try?
got to change
That night,
something.
I closed the notebook, turned off the light, and lay in bed, disappointed again. But something strange happened. In the dark, I remembered a small quote I'd read somewhere. If you can't do it for an hour, do it for 20 minutes. It sounded too simple, too small to change anything. But maybe that was the point. The next morning, I made a deal with myself. Not a big one. Not, I'll study 3 hours every day or I'll become fluent in 1 year. No, just 20 minutes. I set a timer on my phone and opened a short English story. The first 5 minutes were slow. My mind wanted to escape. I kept checking the time, wondering how long was left. That same voice whispered again, this won't work. But I said to myself, just 20 minutes. So I stayed. By minute 10, something changed. The noise in my head became quiet. I started to focus on the story. The words felt smoother. My mind felt lighter. When the timer beeped, I looked up and smiled. For the first time in months, I didn't break my promise. That night, I did it again. 20 minutes of reading. And the next day, 20 minutes of listening. It was small, so small, but it was also possible. And that made all the difference. After 1 week, I noticed something new. I didn't need to force myself anymore. My brain started to expect those 20 minutes each day, like brushing my teeth or eating breakfast. This tiny rule slowly rewired my brain. It taught me that motivation doesn't come before action. It comes after. The act of showing up, even for 20 minutes, tells your brain this matters. At first, 20 minutes was hard, but after a few weeks, it felt too short. So I added a little more. Sometimes 30 minutes, sometimes an hour. And suddenly, I was studying more than ever before. Not because I had to, but because I wanted to. It was no longer about perfection. It was about consistency. And that changed everything. I began to realize something deeper. The reason we fail is not because we're weak. It's because we try to climb the whole mountain in one day. But if you climb just a few steps each day, one morning, you'll look up and realize you're already near the top. 3 months passed. My vocabulary grew without me even noticing. I could understand podcasts that used to sound impossible. My pronunciation improved because I started shadowing for just 20 minutes daily. But the most beautiful change wasn't in my English. It was in my confidence. I started to trust myself again. There was one morning that I'll never forget. I met an old friend who asked, "You're still learning English? Isn't that tiring?" I smiled and said, "Not really. It's part of my day now, like having coffee." He laughed, but I realized that what used to feel like a mountain now felt like a morning walk. That's what the 20-minute rule did for me. It didn't just improve my English, it changed my identity. I was no longer someone who wanted to learn.
Look
I
at
was someone who does
this.
learn. And that difference changes everything. Later, I learned why it worked. Our brains love patterns. Every time we repeat an action, the brain builds a small connection, a pathway. Do it again, and that pathway becomes stronger. Do it every day, and soon it becomes automatic. This is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to rewire itself through repetition. And that's exactly what my 20-minute routine did. It turned studying from a struggle into a reflex. I didn't realize it at first, but those short sessions were teaching my brain a powerful message. This is who I am now. Not the person who says, I'll start tomorrow. Not the one who quits after a week, but the one who shows up, no matter how small the step. And once that identity was built, everything else became easier. Even on bad days, even when I was tired or sad, I still did my 20 minutes because that's just what I do. It started with English. But soon, the 20-minute rule spread into other parts of my life. I used it for exercise, for journaling, even for cleaning my room. I told myself, I'll just do 20 minutes. And somehow, 20 minutes always turn into more. When you remove the pressure of perfection, you allow progress to happen naturally. You stop fighting yourself, and your energy returns because action creates energy, not the other way around. There was a night when I was exhausted after work. I wanted to skip my study time just this once, but I remember the promise, 20 minutes. So I opened my notebook again. That night, I learned 5 new phrases. Small? Maybe. But it was a victory, a quiet one, invisible to others, but deeply powerful inside me. And those small, invisible victories build the strongest confidence. Months later, I went hiking with a group of friends. The trail was steep, and after an hour, some people wanted to quit. One friend said, "We'll never make it to the top." I smiled and said, "Let's just walk for 20 more minutes." We did. And when that time passed, we saw the peak ahead. One more step, one more minute, and suddenly we were there. Standing at the top, I laughed. It was the same lesson, the same rule, but now in real life. You don't reach the top by running. You reach it by staying. That hike became a metaphor for my life. Every big dream I had, learning English, getting healthier, building a new career, suddenly looked less impossible. Because I understood something simple. I don't need to conquer everything today. I just need to give it 20 minutes. A few months later, something unexpected happened. I got invited to an English-speaking event. At first, I was terrified. My heart was racing, my hands were shaking. But then, I remembered all those small daily sessions, all those quiet 20 minutes I had spent practicing. When I started speaking, the words flowed naturally. I wasn't perfect, but I was confident. And for the first time, I didn't translate in my head. I thought in English. It felt like magic. After the event, someone asked me, "How did you become so fluent?" I laughed softly and said, 20 minutes a day. Now, when I look back, I see how much I've changed. Not just my English, but my entire mindset. Before, I used to wait for the perfect mood, the perfect time, the perfect plan. But now I know there's no perfect time. There's only now. The 20-minute rule is not about English. It's about trust, about keeping promises to yourself, about choosing progress over perfection. Every day you show up, even for 20 minutes, you're telling your future self, "I care about you." You don't need a dramatic transformation. You just need quiet consistency. Now, when I study English, I don't feel pressure anymore. I just feel proud that I show up, proud that I learn, proud that I keep going. I don't call it discipline anymore. I call it respect. Respect for my goals, my dreams, my time. And that respect has become my motivation. People often ask, "What's your secret?" And I tell them, my secret is small. It fits inside 20 minutes. Because if you can't find 20 minutes a day for your dream, maybe it's not your dream. It's just a wish. But if you can give yourself those 20 focused minutes every single day, your brain, your habits, and your life will start to change quietly, beautifully, and permanently. If you're watching this and struggling to learn English, remember, it's not about how fast you learn. It's about how often you try. Even 20 minutes a day can change your future if you do it with focus and heart. Your brain is not against you. It's waiting for your consistency to reshape it. Every time you sit down and listen to an English story, every time you repeat a sentence or write a word, you're teaching your brain that this is who you are now, someone who learns, grows, and never stops. So start today. Set your timer for 20 minutes. Turn on a tale, craft or English story, and let's grow together, one small step at a time. If this story touched you, remember, learning English is not a race, it's a journey. Every day you show up, your brain rewires a little more. So don't stop here. Listen to one more story. Subscribe if you believe in small daily growth. Leave a comment and tell us, what's your 20-minute goal today? Because one day, you'll look back and you'll realize that 20 minutes a day was all it ever took to change your life.